Hello. I've been working with Power BI for a little bit now and learned a few things on it, so why not talk about that on the channel? Come back on basic concepts like showcase how to create something easy and nice with different kind of datas, and just come back on things I've learned trying to solve some issues at work. So let's go with a pretty basic sample of data that I got from Microsoft, like it's the usual thing here, that I modified a little bit so you had more things to see. So we're gonna go with that file that's like sales for various countries through the world, and I added quite a bit of information. So we have a segment class and a segment, which is going to be either government, market, small businesses, so different identifiers for the rows. You have discounts that are going to showcase whether or not it was sold full price, and informations about the products and how many were sold for how much, etc. So we're gonna play around with those figures and try to make something that's more of a star schema instead of this flat data file. Obviously, usually you would be working on something way more dense than that, but we can still do something pretty interesting with a simple file like this one. So let's go ahead and download the Excel workbook. Okay, little cut in the video here just to go through what is a star schema before we go in the depth of the actual Power BI shenanigans. Why do you want to use a star schema? Well, let's say that you're gonna have a very big data set, okay? Like this data set has a lot of columns and is gonna be pretty heavy because you might have like something like easily 1,000,000 rows or more, and so every column here means 1,000,000 more data to calculate through and to load. So what's interesting for you is to have something that's going to create less calculation in the computer, because using that main row that's an index, or this one that's the country or anything, and then creating a slicer to make your filters work might be very consuming, very energy and memory consuming for your computer. So the good practice would be to have a main table that obviously is going to have your data, so everything that's happening, all the sales, all the activity, employees, efficiency, anything that you're working on, okay? And what you're going to do is create other tables linked to it that have core informations. What are going to be those other tables? Where it could be a first table that has all the products in it. Product 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And every information about that product. The reference, the price, the taxes on it, any kind of information, the reference, the barcode, etc. Which means that once you have in a table those informations, instead of having all those columns in your main table, you just need to have the article's reference or name appear once in here, and then the Power BI calculations are going to be able to just be like, if this row says 1, then I know that this row also means everything from the 1 in here. So all those informations are going to be added to the informations of that row. But digging through that table is going to be way faster for your computer than analyzing every row in here that you would have. So you're going to do that with your products, maybe your employees that are going to be here. Maybe your employees are also linked to managers. stores, geographical regions, meaning that here you're gonna have loads of informations, like maybe, for example, the region, the country, the engineer responsible for the country, the head salesman responsible for the country, all those informations contained and referenced by just one row of region or country, right? Let's say that here you have France, Spain, Ghana, stuff like that. Well, you're gonna have the informations about that country here. Same thing with everything else. We said it. So the goal for you is to get to that star shape, which means one main table, which is your activities, which is what you're going through, what you're calculating through, and then side tables that are all the core informations that you can group up in one way or another. So we're going to see how I would be doing that on a very simple example, and I'll give this time back to my me from the past that forgot to do that beforehand. So let's go. So I'm getting my financial sample here, and I'm going to select the table more than the sheet. You know, it's usually better. And as you might have learned through the time, don't use the load button but a transform data button, so that you're sure you're going to import things the way you need to import it. Let's refresh the preview for you guys, and let's see what this is about. So yeah, I've been playing around with those things before, so let's just delete those and let's go ahead. So my financials table, what is it? It's going to be an analysis of our sales. Basically everything here is about sales, gross profits, the costs for making the products and stuff like that. So let's make things less dense, less complicated, and more practical to handle. Excuse me. So we can see that some informations are repeating themselves all the time, and some informations are actually informations that are related to that row. So how do we identify those? Well, seeing the file, we can immediately realize that there are segment classes and segments. So obviously like government, mid-market, stuff like that. All those are gonna have one class 1 or 2. So it means that this is gonna repeat itself all the time, and this too. Same thing, you've got a country, a product ID, and a product. Something interesting when you're working with countries is that you want them to be actual geographical data, and you might want to analyze it because of their region, their continent, or something else. So we might want to have more ways to deal with those countries. And finally, my products, I'm going to have an ID and a name, and then they're going to have the amount of units sold, the manufacturing price, sales price, gross sales, and then like everything else is sales informations with the date and more date numbers. So let's go and deal with each of those informations individually. Let's make it easy. Countries. We have a country for each row. Those countries are always going to repeat themselves, and we also want to know what continent they're from. So let's do something and duplicate our table, and we're going to call it countries in there. And what we're going to do is simply remove all the columns. We're going to remove duplicates. And here we are. We have individual countries that we're going to be using. But that's not all we want. We want to know from what region they are. So we're going to add a column and make a conditional column. So here you could be adding, like, for the column, if it's equal to Canada, the output is going to be North America. Okay, but here I want to do something else, and I'm going to do a column from example, which is a little more convenient. We're going to name it region, and then we're going to be adding Canada is going to be North America. Germany is going to be Europe, just like France. Mexico is going to be South America, and the USA is obviously going to be North America. This system is pretty nice if you have some smart things you want the app to understand, like for example, just giving away some examples and it's going to fill up the whole column. Sometimes it's pretty smart and easy to do. Here I just used it because it's just more practical on the get-go. And so here we have the region for every country. So what does that mean there? It means that we don't have to add this region column on the first table here. We just are going to relate it to through the countries. Okay. Then second thing, we have segments and segment classes. Those are two identifiers in my table. So let's duplicate this information and we are going to call that the segment table. And this segment is going to be made of two informations. So we're going to remove all the other columns and remove duplicates. And now we can see that we have government or mid-market or channel partners, small businesses that are either class 1 or 2. What I'm going to do is simply sort just for the sake of the video so it's easier to see. Maybe we're going to do it the other way around. We're going to sort it depending on this and then on that so that you have something interesting here. And we're going to add an index column saying okay, and this index is going to be called segment reference. Okay, now we have this segment reference that we're going to put at the beginning, which is a unique key that you can see there. So what can we do with this? Well, we have numbers from 1 through 10 that are expressing the informations of those two different columns, and I am going to be able to remove those columns and just replace them by one column with one number. So let's do this and just go with merge queries. We're going to merge our financials with our segment table, and we're going to use both columns here to merge it there. We're going to use a left outer join, which is something you might want to explain right now, but you know what, we'll see that in another video if I really want to focus on joins later on. This is just an example. We get this column that we've got to expand. It's called segment 1. I'm going to come back here and okay, no, I'm good. Expand it. So we're not going to use the original column name as prefix. We're going to keep the reference only. Okay. So now this reference, okay, let's put it back at the beginning. Where is it? Segment reference, it's here. We're going to put it before everything else so we have a good view. And here we are. We have segment reference and then segment classes. And now those two columns are not useful anymore. Why can I do this? Well, I used here duplicate to generate a new table. This duplicate system is going to create a second query that is identical to this one, meaning that they are independent. If I modify this query, it's not going to modify the other one, meaning that if later on I have a change, some change or updates to do, I'm going to have to do it on every query individually. If I use a reference column here, and if I do a, let's say, group by countries and our product, and we're going to sum the sales, okay, you can see that everything here is gonna change depending on what's here. So for example, if I replace, my bad, oh, I'm lagging now. I don't know what's going on anymore. Okay, if I replace values and I replace Canada with hello, and I go to financials free, you can see that Canada became hello everywhere. So this is why you want to use reference sometimes. It's because you have a main table on which you're going to do some queries and some modifications that's going to rain down, drop down on your other queries. Here, that's not what I want to do. I want to modify different versions of the same table so I can have in the end different informations that join in my main table. So here I replaced two complex columns with one simple one made of one number. I'm going to cancel my previous change, and we're going to go next with our product ID and product, and we're going to do actually the same thing here. Duplicate, just select the product ID, second product, and another information that's unique to that, and it's the manufacturing price. Those informations are the only ones that we really need, so we're going to remove the other columns and we're going to keep just the one. I like to do this way though. I select everything and I remove duplicates. I can see that I kept only one of each product, meaning that I'm sure now that there are no different values for all of those, right? Okay, so we're going to call that table products. So, given the logic we had before, you know now that we can remove the product name and the manufacturing price from our table. That's 4 tables we removed to replace them with a more simple information, so 2 number values. So now we've got 4 tables, my financial table, that I'm going to rename, my countries, my segments, and my products. What about the rest? Well, we can see here that we have the sales price and number of units sold that are going to be dependent on every row, because sales price is very complicated. It's going to change depending on every situation, like countries and everything else. I have gross sales, discounts that are also one-time things, sales, COGS, which are the overall costs of manufacturing and selling. So your profit is going to be your sales minus the COGS. We can see that it's basically 50% a lot of the times, but not always. So let's keep those informations in there. I added this taxes column, which is the percentage of taxes we have in the various countries, and the dates. And so I realized that this taxes is actually a unique value depending on the country. So let's go back on our country table, select the remove other columns tab here, and we're going to keep country but also taxes. So now we're changing that query so that it indicates the taxes. I'm going to go through with my modifications, and now I see that I have everything I need. So when I come back to my finance, the main table, I can remove gross sales. Oh my bad. Not gross sales. What am I doing? I'm gonna remove my friend the taxes, our friends the taxes. And then, well, we have the date table and various informations about the date. We don't really care about those, because as long as we have a proper date table that has no loading issue, we don't need those 3, so we're going to remove them. And so this is now our table. It's flatter, less columns, lots of rows that are going to give us our informations, and then we have 3 smaller tables that give us precise informations. So let's close and apply and make some very simple visuals with it. as it's loading, I want to say that if everything go well, your star schema is going to look like this, and it's going to already have the links between your new tables and the main one, because you used duplicates, meaning that the Power BI is going to know what is linked with what. So here I have a countries table that is related to my financials table from the countries columns. So you have in the country table here the little one, that means one row in the countries table is unique every time, and is going to be linked to multiple countries in the financials. So lots of rows in my financials are going to be linked to only one row in this, and this is usually the kind of relationship you want in a Power BI file, because it's healthier and easier for you to maintain, because many to many, so star on both ends, could be very hard to handle if you don't know how it's going to behave. So here, this is the best way for you to have a table that is going to react properly, and that's going to be more simple to handle. Okay, so what are we going to do with this? Well, you see that now we are able to interact with our financials table with any of those informations in the other tables, but without having them recurring at every row of the main table financials. What is this going to look like? Let's put on a simple graph in here, and we're going to add from financials our profit. So this profit here is estimated to almost 17 million, and we're going to look at it through time, and so we're going to put our hierarchy here and dig one level into the monthly analysis to see that we have those values that are growing. So good for us. What are we going to do now? Well, we can filter things. So let's add 1 and 2 slices, and those slices are going to be fed with informations from our secondary tables. So here, let's say that we have the products here. Well, we just need one information from all of those. So let's say product and put it in my slicer, and now I have as a drop down a choice on every kind of object. And see, it means that I can interact with my main table from the secondary table. Now let's say that from our countries, we're going to put the region, and see here, let's make this a little more convenient. Oh, change the background for something fun. Okay, and let's say that we want figures from South America, North America, or Europe, and we can see in here the countries being grouped together depending on their region, without us having to do anything else than ordering our table. Which is interesting, is like if I use stacked area charts here and I add my countries as legends, I'm gonna have for every region the decomposition of the profits I made within this main table. So North America is going to showcase Canada and the United States, South America only Mexico, and Europe, France, and Germany. This way you have multiple ways of handling every interaction that's going to happen in your tables, right? What else can we show here? We have all of our segments and segment classes here. So maybe we might want to have a visual on what those segments do on our gross sales, sorry. So let's do that and just add a select all option to come back here. Great. And let's add a slicer, which is going to showcase the informations about segments. So here, remember, I had segment class and segment and a reference. For my analysis, let's say that segments are the only interesting one. and that we are going to have them in a drop down here. And let's say that we want to see what enterprises do. We see that we lose money to it, which is interesting. What is government doing? Well, a little better. And mid-market, and finally small businesses. So this is how we want to handle a basic star schema by grouping informations, removing useless informations, making things more efficient. I didn't go through all the scenarios you could have to handle. I just wanted to go through something pretty simple, and I hope that this is easy for you to understand. So yeah, I'll see you soon, maybe on some more Power BI. Bye.